Hello everybody and welcome to Parks Bros. It's Drew here, and I have some interesting news coming from BeyondTheThrills.com is where I found this article, and it's talking about the possibility of Six Flags buying SeaWorld Entertainment. Yeah, that's right, that SeaWorld Entertainment that also owns the Busch Gardens parks as well. Let's get into this. Now, as of earlier this year, we saw that either the president or the CEO of SeaWorld Entertainment was actually talking about possibly selling off the SeaWorld parks, but not the Busch Gardens parks. So at least that's what was told a couple months back. But now we're finally starting to see, it looks like a move on all of the SeaWorld Entertainment properties by Six Flags. It should be an interesting couple of months if this is true. But do remember to take this with a grain of salt, of course. But it is an interesting option for the future. So let's start talking about this. So if Six Flags were to buy SeaWorld Entertainment, they would take over the parks of Busch Gardens Tampa, Busch Gardens Williamsburg, as well as SeaWorld San Antonio, SeaWorld Orlando, and SeaWorld San Diego, just to name the North American parks at least. And I feel like this could be an amazing acquisition for Six Flags for sure. I believe it would probably be one of the best moves they'd made in probably ever, to be completely honest. SeaWorld has actually been dealing with lower attendance numbers, at least in the beginning of this year, and a loss of revenue, but that has just jumped back up again to being in the positive as of their last report. So it's a very interesting move that we're now hearing about Six Flags trying to possibly purchase this company, especially after they just started making gains after being on the downward trend for the past year and a half or so. It's really just an interesting time to see this pop up. Now, what does this mean for the SeaWorld parks and Busch Gardens parks? Well, to be honest with you, I don't know. If Six Flags were to purchase the SeaWorld Entertainment Company, I feel like a lot of these parks would stay relatively the same, but focus more on thrills and regional entertainment like the other Six Flags parks. I believe that most of the theming would stay, at least for the first couple years, as well as a lot of the animal exhibits would stay as well. I mean, we've seen this with Six Flags Discovery Kingdom when it was Marine World before Six Flags purchased the park. And yet they still have animal exhibits taking up half of the park. And Six Flags Great Adventure has a giant safari section of the park. I don't think Six Flags would take out any of the animal exhibits. If any, it would be few. But Six Flags does have a good track record with keeping animal exhibits in parks. Now, ride-wise, of course, we'd see tons of changes, especially with possibly the Sesame Street characters, unless they were actually able to get the rights through the purchase to the Sesame Street characters, like with Sesame Place, which is also a SeaWorld park. So that would be an interesting acquisition. Could you imagine Six Flags owning Oscar's Wacky Taxi? Whoa. But I do feel like the SeaWorld name is looked down upon by a majority of people now, just because of what happened with the Blackfish documentary that came out a couple years ago. Ever since then, SeaWorld has kind of been looked down upon. But even though it's been changing its focus from animals to rides, especially in the past couple of years, I mean, Mako is a brand new hypercoaster. You have the Skyrocket 2 models coming to multiple parks and have been introduced to SeaWorld San Diego, as well as Busch Gardens Williamsburg. I just find it interesting, especially with the SeaWorld parks, that they have been looked down upon so much, even more so than Six Flags parks. It's very interesting. But as a park goer, I think personally having to pay for only one pass for multiple different parks in Southern California would be great for me, as well as a lot of Six Flags parks goers, but I don't know how it would plan out, especially management-wise. You really don't know. I feel like animal-wise and all-around park-wise, it wouldn't change too much, but I feel like there would possibly be less theming in the future and definitely more thrills. Without question, there would be more thrills, especially to SeaWorld San Diego, as well as possibly even Sesame Place would be adding maybe another family coaster or something along those lines. I just don't really know. I mean, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'm kind of at a loss for words, really. I just believe that Six Flags could possibly pull this off and not do it any harm, besides possibly less theming and things along those lines. I mean, we do know that Six Flags is stepping in more of a themed direction, especially with like West Coast Racers. That's probably the most themed coaster I've seen from Six Flags, but we just really don't know at this point. Now, whether SeaWorld Entertainment actually sells to Six Flags, we'll just have to wait and see, but this could be a major deal, almost as big, or if not bigger, than Cedar Fair's acquisitions of a lot of the Paramount parks in the mid-2000s. So this could be a game changer for sure, especially for someone that doesn't have a SeaWorld pass and hasn't been there for 10 years. I mean, if it was bought by Six Flags, I would be visiting for sure, because I wouldn't have to pay for a separate pass. But either way, I think I'm going to SeaWorld San Diego next year at least 1 or 2 times, but we'll just have to wait and see for that. But I do feel like it would be an interesting acquisition, to say the least. Now, the Busch Gardens parks are the real question mark, because I don't know what they do with those parks. Where SeaWorld parks like Orlando, San Antonio, and San Diego, I know that they'd keep it almost like Discovery Kingdom, keeping the main soul of the park and then just adding thrills on top. But please let me know your thoughts down below. I'm really interested to see what you guys think. But just remember, this is a rumor. It is not confirmed true. I will even put the link for the article down in the description. But yeah, do not take this without a grain of salt. It is for sure a rumor and not proven true as of yet. But thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please make sure to tell me what you think, and we'll see you on the next ride.